Welcome to Dear Young Queen, the podcast.
Matches my...
Your drink does match your pants.
Did you plan that?
But also,
No, I didn't.
Yo.
Yeah.
Shay.
Yes. Yes.
What color is your straw?
It's gold.
It's
Why did
gold.
she get the straw that matches her drink?
Oh,
You're holding out on the
It's 'cause
purple
it
straw.
matches her
that was all that was
too.
left. Sorry.
You holding out on the purple straws, Lex.
Sustainable.
I didn't even realize that. I'm coordinating.
You Yo, the lip. No, literally take a sip.
Oh, with
From
the
your
lid.
lip to the straw to the drink. You did that.
Mmm.
This is delicious. What you got here?
So we have some rosemary, and since cranberries are in season right now, we have some cranberry vibes.
Cheers to
Oh,
that.
come on. Did you see?
How could I miss it? Yeah.
Oh, you pulled your cranberry.
So should we call this, since it's like giving mistletoe, maybe kiss my ash?
Oh,
What do we think about that?
I think I love it.
I'm mad I didn't think of that myself.
I know.
Well, you've been quick.
L'chaim.
Oh,
This is sweet.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thank
Welcome.
you.
Well,
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Already
I
it's
know
tasty like
it was.
that?
It was a
was
little.
good.
It was also a long day at the office.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
Stock market's down. I need the drink.
Uh-oh.
I'm that girl who needed that drink. Yes. Yes, but we'll keep it more positive. Thanks for having me at Casa Lex. We made it.
We made it.
I also feel like very warm and welcome and at home here. And I've been having the honor of chatting with Mom, who is a hoot. And
Shout out to Mom.
Big up, Mom. Bop, bop, bop.
She is the house
Yeah.
madam. She
Yeah.
is the house madam.
Yeah.
She is the household.
Ask anybody that comes through here. They will co-sign that
Yeah.
for sure.
That's right.
But I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. I'm pretty sure it's where you get your hosting from.
Growing up in the Midwest, I feel like you just give that warming welcome all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to my mom that had trickled through to me and hopefully to my children. That's what I pray for. So welcome. I'm glad you feel warm and comfortable.
Thank you.
And welcome to Casa Lex.
Thank you.
Sometimes she feeds you. Sometimes she just gets you drunk.
No, I'm fat and happy, and now I'm here to enjoy this beverage, this adult beverage.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, listen, ladies, I'd love to introduce you to our lovely guest this week, Shea. Shea is a licensed financial advisor, but I like to read titles around here.
All right.
Because women, especially women in finance, have to work
Yes.
their behinds off to get the titles that they have. So pardon me while I pull up the official.
Yes, yes.
She is the vice president, wealth management. She's a global sports and entertainment associate director. She's also an NFL PA, Players Association, registered institutional player financial advisor based here in Miami, Florida.
And that is me. All of those things are me.
Ooh, girl, I know your
Yes.
I know your
Yes.
LinkedIn profile is lit.
Uh-oh.
What?
Yes.
Comma.
Yeah.
Comma.
It doesn't all fit on this
Yeah.
dude.
Yes.
How
It's a
could
lot.
it? It doesn't.
It's a
It
lot.
doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, welcome
Thank
to Dear
you.
Young Queen.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you, Queens, for having me. And I wish I had more platforms like this when I was younger and needed to look to people who are relatable and independent and self-thinkers and self-motivated. So big up yourselves for providing this.
Listen, you said it. Can I write that down
Yeah.
in my bio?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Big up, big
No,
up.
but really, truly, it's important, I think, both to Alexis and I, to make sure that we're continuing to create spaces where women can share their journeys, whether that is professional, whether that is personal, whatever it is, because you can literally learn something from everybody's story. And oftentimes you feel alone
Yeah.
until you hear one piece of somebody's story that reminds you a little bit of yourself or what you've gone through or are going through. And so it is important. I specifically wanted to amplify your voice here because you don't find a lot of women in wealth management, or maybe you do and we just don't hear their stories.
Sure.
Either way, we
Sure.
want to clarify that
Yeah.
and stop that
Absolutely.
from happening if that's
Absolutely.
the case. So excited, super excited to have you here.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
think that one of the things is everyone is so used to saying the male-dominated industry. And I'm here to say, let's not say male-dominated industry. I'm dominating. Every single client
Absolutely.
that I have used to work with a male financial advisor. And so, sure, it's 80% men in my industry, 20% women. We're working on those numbers. Another part of what allows me to say that women are now dominating the space also is that it's been proven that our performance in the bottom line of our returns on investments are better than our male counterparts. And I think that needs to be discussed and really put out there.
No, let's just rewind that part.
Yeah, pull it up, selector, pull it up.
Say it again. Say it again.
Yes. Women financial advisors and money managers have higher returns on investment on the bottom line than our male counterparts for various reasons. One of them being that although we're not risk adverse, we're still taking risk, but we're taking more calculated risk. And we believe in making our decisions based on doing more research. And obviously, we've got that intuition as a little bit of our guiding light. And so we're, doing research and tapping into all of our resources before we make these decisions on investing our money or investing our clients' money. And another thing is that we're trading less. So we are buying and holding. And those long-term investment strategies tend to pay off more in the long run. We call it passive investing. And as a result, because we're not making those many trades, perhaps as our male counterparts, that's actually allowing our clients to have less of a taxable effect. So whether it's a taxable gain, and it's also allowing us to be more fee efficient and fee conscious for our clients. And so how that plays into the return on investment is that when you're growing your wealth, it's not just what you earn, but it's also what you keep. So we're paying less money in taxes. We're paying less money in fees. That's more money we can put to work in our investment strategy.
You made me think about one of my favorite stories ever. And Lex, this is the story I collected while traveling.
Yes.
So
was it a solo trip? Was it a Lex style solo trip?
Girl,
Okay.
I am not ready for the solo trips.
Okay.
Invite me on all the girls trips.
Yeah, okay.
I'm still working. But by the end of this year, I will have taken one. I'm going to force myself to do it.
Good for you.
But anyhow, it reminds me of a story that I heard while I was in London. I was on a boat and it was like, going down one of the many rivers, and they were telling stories about all the bridges. So we get to...
The bridges were not falling down in London?
They were not falling down. In fact, they are still standing.
Okay.
And there is one in particular, the Waterloo Bridge.
Okay.
So the Waterloo Bridge was built during the war by all women. Naturally, the men were off to war. It is the only bridge in London that was completed on time, under budget, and made of self-cleaning stone. So when you say something like women are, the 20% of women
That's
are
right.
outperforming men because of strategy, because of long-term strategies, because of all of the things, our deep research.
Less
Patience.
ego.
Less ego,
Yeah.
all of that.
Less
It's
impulsive.
so believable and has been happening for centuries.
Yep.
When women are actually put in charge of certain projects,
Decision-making process.
all of those
Absolutely.
things. And it's wild to me that the stigma exists that women are like can't be in positions of power or leadership because we're so emotional.
Quite contrary, the fact that we have these emotions and these feelings and empathy, I think that actually gives us an edge that our male counterparts don't have. And people who get it, my clients who get it, they really get it.
Yeah.
And so now I have clients saying, Shea, I've got you as my financial advisor. I've now got all female doctors. I now have all female people that are on my team and on my board of having me make big decisions in life.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it's so beautiful. I had been in the industry for 11 years before I became a financial advisor. And a big part of the delay was because I'd never thought that wealthy, successful people would hire me to be their financial advisor because I was a young woman and I'm bright and I'm bubbly and I'm blonde and not this older, middle-aged, older Jewish white man, which is what all I saw coming up in this industry. And I had one manager who really believed in me, and he's the one who made me go through the process to get all my licenses. And I was a part of this team. The team kind of broke up and went to other companies, and it was a sudden thing. And I had the opportunity to either stay at my company and start my own business as a financial advisor, or to go with the team and just keep being like the right hand. And my manager and my father are the ones who said, no, you can do this. And so this book of business, these clients that I helped this team build, they had the opportunity to go with another advisor or to go with the team to another company. And they said, no, we want to work with you, Shea. We knew that you were the one making all the magic happen behind the scenes. Yeah. And we knew that you were getting paid to make it look like they were actually doing it.
Yes.
But they took a chance on me. And these people really helped give me the confidence and give me the opportunity to give them a shot and to manage their life savings. And it turned out to be the biggest blessing in my life. And now that's how my business grows, is because of the referrals from my existing clients. So
beautiful.
Sitting in those meetings with all these men all these years, and I'd be cringing because I wasn't contributing, right? I was there just as the right hand. And I would be like, wow, this guy's not listening to what this person's saying at all. This guy really isn't. Sure, he's not doing anything illegal or inappropriate, but he's certainly not doing the most appropriate thing.
Right.
And I was just kind of cringing. So that's when I was like, you know what, if these guys can do this, I can do this too.
Yes.
So, I agree.
I also had a very interesting experience maybe 2 years ago. I used to be the COO of a personal assistant agency where we staffed ultra high net worth New Yorkers with personal and executive assistants. Wow, that was hard to get out. I was like, what other assistants were they? Anyways, personal executive assistants. That said, we used to take a lot of meetings with big firms about ultra high net worth clientele, 40 million plus, whatever, etc. I remember sitting at a brunch that they had invited us to. It was like the ladies of the private wealth clientele. And in that meeting, I also learned that women typically end up with most of the wealth because we outlive the men. So it's also like this strategy where a lot of people are going with male financial advisors, and then they're getting to the latter point of their lives, and then their wives, their daughters that these businesses have been left to, that this massive amounts of wealth is left to, and they're looking at a financial advisor that they don't even speak the same language with.
Right.
And I just think it's so imperative for women to get into the industry now, because like later in life, we need each other.
Even more.
Now, as the daughter of some man who passed away, and now I own 17 companies that I never knew. I mean, I knew I would own them eventually, but I wasn't expecting his untimely passing.
Yep.
And now I'm responsible for this mass amount of wealth, and I don't even know how to speak to Joe.
How about I've had a client who was widowed. She comes to me, she doesn't even know how to write out a check. She doesn't know how to write a check. I have clients, divorcee clients who inherit their ex-husband's financial advisor. She's like, I've been calling, they don't answer my calls, they don't return my calls.
Yeah.
This woman's sitting on over $10 million with you. You don't have the respect or decency to return her phone calls.
Right.
So now she brings me her statements. They're still in the sealed envelopes. She doesn't even know what she owns or why she owns it.
Yep.
She has questions. They're not answering them. And so I think one of the blessings in disguise of the last couple of years, certainly COVID, a lot of the lights turn on. And I think people, women especially, started paying attention more to finances and investments because we had no choice. The economy was booming. Everyone's making money hand over fist. Then the music stops and it's musical chairs. Where's your chair? And people didn't have that safety net of savings that perhaps they thought the money was just going to keep coming in like it had been. And I think women especially, I noticed, started coming to me and friends that had never asked me about money or investing or saving or budgeting are like, knock, knock, knock. Shea. I was like, yeah, about time. I've only been doing this 15 years and you're just now hitting me. That's fine. But better late than never.
Yeah. Usually it is trauma or something life altering like a death or a divorce. So our antennas go up, and then you get nervous because you're like, let me hold on to this. I'm nervous to give it to somebody. And then, you just think the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that women innately are more savers than they are investors. And that doesn't do us any favors because we see inflation. Everyone's finally talking about inflation.
Right.
Inflation has been at 8, 9, 10, 11%. So if your money is just sitting in there in cash, you're losing 8, 9, 10, 11% to the cash that's not being invested. And so even if you start small, you've got to start putting that money to work and doing your research on your own, and, you know, talk to your friends and family and put together a plan to get to where you want to go. And whether that's to buy a home or to put your kids through college or to take a really fabulous solo trip or a girls trip or to retire. And so you've got to do the research. Women are not risk adverse. We just need to know what's going on first so we can then make the decision on our own and link up with someone or a community where they're taking this more sophisticated stuff and breaking it down into plain English.
So since women are so risk adverse and since women are so used to holding on to our money and all of these things, how the hell did you end up where you are? What is your story?
Yeah.
Tell us your background.
So my mother passed away when I was very young, and I was raised by my single father. And I was basically fearless because of him. And certainly being an athlete my whole life also, I think that gave me grit and endurance. And
what was your sport?
I played basketball.
Okay.
And I think playing team sports too also helped being able to, you know, take these punches to the gut that come in life and in business, and to know how to navigate those situations where I feel like I'm perhaps not giving the opportunity that I think I should have. And, you know, my relationship with my father very much has helped me to not be surprised when men do stupid things.
You know, you touched on something before we sit on your dad, because he sounds like an incredible man, and I actually can't wait to sit there for a second. You said something that I wanted to touch on over the past few weeks, as I've heard a lot of women talking about their kids in sports or partners in sports or ex-partners in sports. And you said something about it teaching you how to roll with the punches.
Sure.
Something about sports also teaches me that a loss is not traumatic. That when you get a loss, you have the opportunity to win again.
Absolutely.
That the loss isn't the end of the day.
The lesson is in the loss.
The lesson is in the loss.
Yes.
You go back, you watch your film, your tape, and nowadays everyone's lucky enough to watch themselves. Right? You figure out where you went wrong, and you get back out on the court, on the field, on the ice skating rink, whatever it is that you do. And I just think it's so important that I swear, even if your kids are not athletic, like, get them involved in something where they can lose. Teach them the lesson of loss early.
Also, I think the philosophy of putting in what you get back. I think that sports showed me at a very early age that if I work hard and practice and do the right thing and put in the time and the effort, I'm going to get something back. So then I took that to adulthood and growing in my career. I started at the bottom. I started as a receptionist of a company. I answered the phone. I couldn't even pronounce the name of the company, but I was just going to bust my tail and do the right thing. And in 3 days, the owner of the company is like, hey, you're clearly overqualified for this. I wasn't probably really, but I was just working really hard. And the first person there, the last person to leave, put in the extra work. And that's how I worked my way up.
It reminds me of like another kind of like cliche. Try that again. It reminds me of another cliche saying, but it's true. Hard work beats talent, especially when talent doesn't work hard. You can have a ton of talented people, but if you're the first person in there and the last one to leave, if you're triple checking your work, if you're really working hard, you're right, you're gonna get something out of it. It's something I say to people all the time. Like, just go in there and do your best.
Absolutely.
If you do your best, something good is going to happen. I'm not saying you're going to get the outcome you want. Not saying you're going to get your plaque on the wall or any of those things, but I'm saying you're going to feel better.
Absolutely.
Internally. Emotionally, spiritually, the whole nine. You definitely putting in work will lead to something that's more rewarding, for sure.
For sure. So was your dad in finance? Like, what made you, what got you interested in this as a woman?
My father worked as an investment banker on Wall Street. And so I think that's also a part of what made this not feel like such a foreign concept to me. Growing up, I certainly didn't want to be in investment field. It wasn't my passion.
What did you want to do?
So I went to a university that had a program with the United Nations. And I was a part of this global leadership program. And I wanted to be an ambassador at the United Nations. I just always knew my passion was helping people. I didn't know how I was going to do that. So I interned at the United Nations for 3 years. And I quickly realized my Pisces rose-colored glasses came off during that time. And I graduated, and it was time to go to the real world and get a job. And I got a job at a nonprofit organization.
And then you realized.
And then I got my first paycheck.
Yeah.
You were like,
After 2 weeks of work, it was something like $530. And I called my dad hysterically crying, not because he was going to give me money, but because I'm like, what the hell? He's like, what'd you think it was going to be? It's a nonprofit. And so he's like, I admire that you want to help others. But you need to help yourself before you'll be able to be of any help to anybody else. And so that was when I got my entry-level job at the financial services company. And the gentleman, after I was the receptionist for 3 days, he moved me into the role of business development and marketing, and to go out to the public and find the high net worth individuals and bring them into him and convert them into clients, and then manage the relationships with those individuals.
Which is like always also where it starts, where they put the pretty girls too.
Sure. It didn't help.
Bring the clients over here, I'll sell them.
But it was the fact
bring them in.
It's because this is very much a personal business. So everyone thinks it's all numbers and charts and graphs.
It's personal.
It's
for
very
sure.
much a personal business. And so I had the ability to build personal relationships with these individuals and put out my good energy and say, hey, you need help with your investments. This guy's a good guy. You know, we can help you. And so that was how it worked. But that one manager who had that foresight to say, Shea, become a financial advisor, he's the one who said, hey, the hardest part of our job is not making the investments. The hardest part of our job is actually going out into the public and bringing in the clients. And you're doing this for this guy.
Yeah.
And I know you think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But what do you have to show for it?
Yes.
You've been doing this for him for 11 years. What are you going to be doing 11 years from now? I was like, I'll be doing this with him for sure.
Yeah.
He's like,
No, you need to go.
absolutely not.
Go climb.
So he
Elsewhere.
gave me the vision, and he's like, I'm going to make you get your licenses and become a financial advisor. I definitely started crying in his office, and I said, I don't want to be a financial advisor. I never wanted to be responsible for losing $1 for anybody.
Yeah.
So that was also why I really dragged my feet and kicked and cried and said, I don't want to do this. And I didn't want to sit for these exams. And I didn't want to, just uproot everything. And I didn't want to become a 100% commission only person. I was okay if I was making a little bit less money.
Just a little base though. So I know
had
if I
a
could
base.
pay my rent.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I was so scared of that. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies, and we get complacent and comfortable, and we come from a place of fear sometimes. And I've been poor before, and I didn't want to do that again. So that was another fear that I had to overcome. And again, go back to being the athlete, is that I knew that if I worked hard and did the right thing, it would pay off, and I would be able to pay my rent and then some.
Yeah. We keep throwing around the term investing, investment, financial wealth, investing, whatever. And what I know from my experience growing up, or what I was taught, is that like you have to have a certain amount of money to have a financial advisor. You have to have a certain amount of money to make investments. Is that true? Like, do I have to make $1 million before I can start investing? Do I have to have X amount of savings before I can start investing?
Yeah.
Like, what's T?
Definitely you need to have savings before you start investing.
Okay.
You've got to have at least a minimum of 3 months, but the rule of thumb is 6 months of like what your overhead is. So first and foremost, start with the budget. How much money do you have coming in? How much money do you have going out? What's like your monthly burn rate? What's your monthly like minimum that you need to have your bills paid, your rent paid, and to survive? Have a minimum of 6 months of that saved up, and then begin your investing strategy. However,
That doesn't sound
the first place to start, though, is going to be if you have a traditional job and your employer is offering benefits. A part of that benefit package is a retirement plan, traditionally a 401k or a 403b if you work for a government or school or something like that. And so they give you the opportunity to start your pension planning there. So sure, that's money you typically don't touch until you're 59 and a half years old. But you have tax benefits. That was my first time ever investing money into the market.
Yeah.
And so I was this receptionist starting out, and I wasn't making a lot of money by any stretch of the imagination. And they, send me my benefit package. And I had the opportunity to participate in a 401k plan. And I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm barely going to make enough money to pay my bills. But he's like, you've got to start, even if it's just a small amount. The company was matching, so start contributing to this 401k plan. And then I was like, well, how do I pick out what to put in it? And he's like, you got to lift the hood on the car, get the list of the investments you're allowed to participate in, and start researching. You use Google for everything. Use Google now.
Wow.
And that was where I started. And it was very small. And I'm really happy to sit here today, 16 years later, and say it's not very small anymore. And it's because I just stayed with it. Even when it hurt, even when every dollar counted, I stayed with it.
Yeah.
And now I have the ability to breathe a little bit more comfortably, saying, okay, I know I have this foundation for my long-term planning and my retirement.
So I don't know. I feel like I'm really good at Google.
Yes.
I feel like I do a lot of great research.
Yes.
But even when I was presented with, hey, we're going to match for your 401k, I started researching, and then it should be in the money market. It should be in this. It should be in that. And all of the knowledge that you don't know anything about starts to feel really overwhelming.
Yes.
Right?
Like
and
a foreign language.
I chose the option that I saw most pop up on all these sites.
Okay. I hope it wasn't the money market.
I can't lie to you. I think it might have been.
Oh, dear God.
I feel like I've seen that multiple times.
Yeah.
Okay, so a money market is it's called a cash alternative. So instead of sitting in cash, earning nothing, a money market is going to pay similar to what interest rates are. So right now it's relatively high because interest rates are high.
So I should pull it out right now.
So
Go get it.
Yeah. Well, you're so young. So as we are younger, we have the ability to participate in investments that have a little bit more risk because we still have a longer runway for earning, for money making years. Again, time is on our side with investing. So start making those changes. If you have, the old 401k plan that's still at your old company.
Yeah, you don't even work at anymore. They're not matching anything. My money's just sitting like two different.
So you roll it into one. It's called an IRA, and pool everything. So you're not looking
for
at
those. What's an IRA?
So an IRA is a retirement account, and you're able to take your old 401ks and put them all in one, and have that be a part of your long-term financial plan. And so you need goals, though. You need goals.
Tons of money in these 401ks. It costs to move them to an IRA.
It does not.
It doesn't.
Doesn't.
That's good information.
So not only does it not take a lot of money to start your investment journey, but also you can do this without paying any fees. So there's several institutions that offer free investment accounts. And I highly recommend you look into it. I could rattle off a list of a bunch. All of them are more or less the same. And you can start investing with $5 a month.
Yeah.
$500 a month, whatever your comfort level is, and just to have it go like clockwork. After you have all your bills and your savings to the side, start putting that money to the side.
We're going to drop that list of places you can start.
Yeah.
Is there a particular place on Google or a website or a place that you feel like women can go to that they can trust that's going to give this information?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. Yeah. So I think people sometimes get lost in taking their investment advice for their life savings off of TikTok. And
what do you mean?
This Instagram
is your rich BFF and favorite Wall Street girly.
Yes. Who's encouraging you to invest all your money in crypto and NFTs. And it's heartbreaking to hear some of these stories. We just had obviously Miami Art Week recently, not too long ago, and I had the opportunity to speak on a panel with NFT creators in the Web3 space, and to hear these horror stories
It's really bad
of
right
these
now.
creators, especially these artists who hit their lick. They had their big piece of art that they sold, and instead of taking the money out of the crypto that they got paid in, they left it in the bank, the crypto bank on the blockchain, and just thought it would grow. And it's just heartbreaking story after heartbreaking story of all these people who lost so much money that they didn't have to lose. I think that was a major wake-up call for that community, especially because those very, very risky investments should only be participated in if you have the ability to lose every dollar. If you'll never need to see that money ever again, fine, go for it. But don't have that be your core investment strategy. Have that be something where you can afford to lose it and you're not going to lose any sleep. So I think that's been one of the wake-up calls where people realize that, you know, they need to have a more traditional foundation of investing than
So risky
these
like
speculative investments that sound sexy and lots
trendy.
I was always super nervous about Bitcoin as well. I was watching everybody like go up. I'm not even gonna lie. I knew some people that like hit, and even on like, what was the big penny stock last year that like blew up?
AMC.
Something like, AMC.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of them like blew up hella fast, and people made quick ass licks, and it was like, damn. But like, it just, in my gut, I could not make the leap. That I had some extra coins, and something in me still just couldn't believe in something that like
couldn't understand.
That wasn't tangible, right? That wasn't in your
You
hand.
didn't understand it.
You definitely
You go
don't
to ask
understand
somebody,
it.
describe it to me, explain this to
Absolutely.
me. In my business, if you can't explain the investment clearly in 3 or 4 sentences, then it's a no. It's a no.
Yeah.
And if you go to an individual who is obsessive about investing in NFTs and crypto coins, and you ask them to explain this investment to you in plain English in 2 or 3 or 4 sentences, and they can't, run for the hills, especially when people use the word guaranteed when referring to investments. There's only 2 investments in this world where we're allowed to use the word guaranteed. CDs, which is like
CDs?
It's a
Wow,
cash
yes,
deposit
yes.
where you put your money in the bank for a year or 2 years or whatever. You get a guaranteed rate, or an annuity. And an annuity, again, you've got to lock up the money for a certain period of time, and you get certain guarantees with that. That's the only 2 times legally that you're allowed to use the word guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone's telling you, I guarantee you double-digit return, run as fast as you can in the other way. Just run.
Yeah. So it sounds like, though, you have to have a friend that is knowledgeable in the industry, or that you're going to go to one of these websites listed below, right, to learn. But I think that there are so many of us where these conversations didn't start inside of our homes, or didn't start with family members that we knew were investing their money. And so for a lot of us, this is the first time, even if it is from TikTok or social media, that we're even hearing that we need to be making our money work for us.
Yeah.
And so your dad obviously worked on Wall Street. Like, were these conversations you were having growing up at the table?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I got comfortable talking about money from asking my dad for money.
Right.
I got comfortable asking for more in the workplace and demanding more of my employers.
I feel like that's a fairly easier conversation to have with an employer, right? I think it's interesting that we're not even having the conversations with our girlfriends about the type of money that we have, that we're making, that our expenses, what our overhead are. Like,
it used to be so taboo. I think it's not as taboo now.
And we need to open up more with our friends and ask, okay, who is the right financial advisor? Did they help you out? Or no, run fast. We have to be more honest with ourselves, and also honest about what we have going on, because we can really help each other with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a point too where, like, a lot of us as women, we're finally seeing the value in each other and how valuable we are working with each other. So I found, even just like in starting businesses with friends of mine, Alexis and I, as we entered a new business venture, had to have very real conversations. Now, sure, you put a lawyer in between it, you put the paper, you get all the right things, but it's also like, hey, this is what I can afford. This is what I can afford. This is what I'm willing to invest. This is what I'm willing to invest. And you have to actually really be able to open up to have honest conversations that are vulnerable.
And
Let's
receive
go there.
it.
Let's go there.
And receive that too.
And also receive it. I think that we spend, particularly as women, we're in this fight to fight for what we're worth and fight for what we desire, and trying to show other women that we're doing it, that sometimes we're not necessarily honest about the cash flow part of it or the investment portions of it, because we believe that it will make us not as believable, or maybe not as reputable, or not as
Sure.
you know, whatever it is.
We've got to remove the ego.
Yes.
I think that's important. I'm the first to say, before I became a financial advisor, I had 3 jobs. I was cleaning houses, and I had an eBay store, and then I had my regular daytime job. There's no shame in my game. I lived in a studio apartment for 10 years, about the size of this room.
Yeah.
It was a shoebox.
Yeah.
My ex-boyfriend came and he was like making fun of me. Why are you living in a small apartment?
You're
My
like,
friends
'cause
were
that's what
inviting
you needed.
my friends were inviting me on trips, and I'd have to say no. I wasn't going out to dinner every night and spending money with my friends that way. But I had to. I couldn't try to keep up with the Joneses. I knew these people weren't going to help me if I needed help. I knew I didn't have dad to call. I knew I didn't have mommy and daddy's credit card. Like, I had to do this on my own, and I had no option. And I made those sacrifices, and I lived like that. And I did babysitting jobs on the side while my girlfriends went to the club. Like, I did everything because I wasn't afraid to get my hands dirty to give myself a little bit of security that I knew I needed. And so you've got to remove the ego.
Absolutely.
I drove a bucket. I had 134,000 miles on it before I got my brand new Range Rover off the showroom floor.
Okay.
Yes, but you worked for that.
But I worked my tail off for
and
that.
then you appreciated it
Hell
that much more.
Absolutely.
You feel much more confident.
Proud,
Empowered. Yes, empowered.
Yes. And no one
empowered.
can take this from me.
No one can take it from you.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful to hear. But to segue into like dating and, you know, being a successful woman, how do you feel it is out here in these dating streets?
Well, I think it certainly weeds out a fair amount of individuals who might be potential suitors. I used to think, all right, I'm going to grow up and be this hustler and this baller and have all my stuff together. And then I'm going to meet my boss ass man. And he's going to look and he's going to look at me. He's like, I'm a boss. I need my boss counterpart. And we're going to boss up together and be this power couple.
I love this fairy tale.
And then reality sets in. And I'm like, hold up. Wait, those guys don't want a woman like me? The bosses don't want another boss to be equal so we can take over the world together?
Yes.
No, that sounds like a lot of ego in one household.
Yeah. And so that was disappointing. And so now
that was disappointing.
Yeah. And so I think also the last couple of years, I admit, I take full responsibility that I have been focusing too much on my career. Not focusing too much on it, but I didn't have balance, and I wasn't making love a priority by any means. And I think my disposition in life is a bit different because I was raised by my father, and I have a very, very, very big family, and they never made me feel like I had to perform for societal norms and for what society was expecting of me as a woman. They never made me feel like I had to do these things and check these boxes. And so since I was young, I was never like, I need to get married and have kids and white picket fence and check these things off, because I have a lot of aunts and uncles who are married and they're happy and they have no kids, and they're everyone's favorite aunt and uncle because they've got the energy and the stamina to hang out with us when our parents are exhausted.
Right.
And so I think not having that pressure gives me a little bit of a different stance and view in dating also, because I don't feel like I have this clock of these deadlines that I have to meet. And so I think that's a bit of a blessing and a curse, because I'm like, all right, well, I'm not looking to have kids. So like, am I in a rush to find a man and to find a husband?
Sounds like you got your whole life to me. So since we're talking about dating,
Yes.
I feel like I have a real question.
Yes.
At what point in dating a man should you both gain clarity on your financial situations? How important do you think it is to have an understanding of a partner's financial positioning?
Well, certainly as you get more serious, it's very important, especially as you go to talk about marriage. So what was your financial situation like growing up? Because how are you conditioned? What was your environment? You know, do you come from a scarcity mindset? You know, what was your family living in poverty, or the bread was buttered and you never had to worry about anything? Are you coming with a lot of debt? Are you coming with creditors who are coming? Have you paid your taxes to the IRS? Are they coming to check for me if you don't pay your IRS bill? Like those things are really important. And so I think there has to be transparency when you get to that level and open communication, especially if you have kids. You know, how are you going to raise those kids? And if he just inherited $100,000 today, how's he going to spend it? Is he going to invest it? Is he going to go buy a diamond bezel Rolex? Is he going to the trap? Like, what are you doing with this $100,000? Like, open the dialogue, have those questions. I have a list actually of questions that you can ask your potential suitor or once it gets serious.
Once it gets serious, follow her for that list. We're not giving that free list down here.
I posted every Valentine's Day.
But again, it's someone you're serious about. You don't want to like on the first date come out and be like, so
let me see your portfolio. Send me your statement.
Well, I asked that because I had a girlfriend of mine who was dating this guy. And he basically asked her, how much does she have in savings?
On like the first date?
No,
or just eventually?
They've been dating like 6 to 8 months or so. They've been dating for a little bit. But she was taken aback because she felt like this is someone that had made significantly more money than she did.
Was he contributing to her? Was he helping her out? Was he helping her put money towards her savings?
Not at this point.
Okay.
He just kind of wanted to understand her financial figure.
Okay.
And at first, we were all taken back because we were like, what does it matter? He doesn't need your savings. Like,
tell her to tell him she's broke and she needs help building her savings.
Well, she ended up being truthful with him and shared what she had. And it didn't change the way that he looked at her in any way, shape, or form. But I remember the way that all of us were off put by that request. But then also in the same respect thinking, I actually would want to know that about someone I was getting serious with.
Now, did he share his? Are you? Yeah.
Well, there was no need to share his. He made significantly more money than her. That his paycheck was more than what she had in savings. You know what I'm saying? So for her, she felt
he was just curious.
I argue, like we've been saying before, ego is involved a lot in finances. So I think her ego was hurt a little bit to like maybe have to say the number out loud that she didn't think that he would respect.
Yeah.
And then I also think that it thought that she would be taking herself out the running. Like a man with this much money is going to want somebody with more.
Plot twist, they don't. They want the woman that doesn't have that much money, I think, in my humble opinion. Well, yeah, because I think that if she has too much, that she could up and leave at any time. She's not going to take your
SHIT.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that it's a little bit less to actually do with your finances as much as it is exposure and experience. Like, sure, there's fear that she can get up and leave if she has the money. But there's actually more security in me being able to take care of it because she doesn't have it. So like less of a fear that she'll leave me and more of reiterating that I'm the man in the relationship.
Yeah, I think it goes back down to ego. Like, I'm going to save her.
I think it's even more basic than that. They're protectors and providers.
Yeah.
I do think that the basis of being with a woman that doesn't have it all is solidifying your positioning as a man, as a protector and a provider.
Yeah.
Which I think ultimately women who do have a problem with feeding that part of a man.
Yeah.
Because actually you're not the provider around here.
Yeah.
Actually we split in these bills or actually so it's a little bit harder to hold them in that light.
Yeah.
Now if a man is doing those things for you, then naturally you're going to do that. Like I know I've had a conversation on the Ask Ashley podcast about men who like give gifts after fights, right?
The narcissistic men?
I don't care what positioning they're coming from.
Yeah, they're just like,
I don't care if it's an apology gift. I don't care if it's narcissistic. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that I've always said that it's actually a phenomenal tactic.
Yeah.
Now, not as a woman, but when I look at the overall idea.
Sure.
As someone who has just received a gift,
Yeah.
it is much harder for me to look at you with an attitude, pout, and stomp around this household. Because life has taught me that when somebody gives me something, I should be grateful for it.
Sure.
Period.
Sure.
So there is a natural submission
Sure.
that a woman has when gifted with something after something wrong has been done to her. I believe that it's very similar the same way, that if I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and a man was providing me a place to lay my head, you better be damn sure I'm walking around with a smile on my face, telling him that he looks really good today, and do you need that shirt ironed? Why? Because I'm in survival mode. And I do think that a lot of men will go for a woman that is in a more
100%,
survival mode because of the mode that we ourselves are in. When we are in that space.
But what guy is going to be going after the weakest one in the herd?
link.
I don't want that man. She can have him.
I know, and I mean this with all due respect because I'm in the same position as you. That he don't want you either. He doesn't want me either. You know what I'm saying? The same way you don't want that man is the same way he doesn't want that personality. So it's like you gotta, like, instead of being like, why are they like this? I've really just kind of understood that despite our very long list of experiences that co-sign our views, is to really understand, okay, well, why are we attracting the men that like that? I've found myself now, like, all men aren't like that. I attract men like that because I'm big, because I'm boisterous, because I am in control of what I'm doing in my career. I want to meet men that are like me, or that I feel like are doing that. But it's like, is that what's right for you, for me, for you? You know, like what is actually right for you versus what you're attracted to? Are the real conversations.
Let's
two different
peel
hands.
back the layers.
Two different
There are
hands.
layers.
What's your wounding?
I'm going to argue with your dad, who is, and I always say this, women who have dads that are out of this world, I believe, have the hardest time dating. Because there is a standard that you will forever.
For sure.
That's your first love. That's the man, you know, everything to you. So like, it's going to be hard for a man to hold a light to him, but also you're not dependent on finding a man's love because you have that man's love. You already know what it is to be filled up by a man. You already know what it is to be a princess to a man. You know all of those feelings. There are a lot of us that maybe don't have those relationships with our fathers who are looking for that validation within men and will put up with everything that comes along with it just to get that validation from a man because we never felt it. So it's deep, but I do agree with you that certain men of certain calibers are not looking for women that are quote unquote equally yoked. They are looking for a woman that's going to make them feel more solidified or more comfortable in their positioning. Now, there's a whole crop of men out here, sis. Which is what I'm learning and going through right now, that think it's so dope that you have everything going on that you're doing.
Thank you.
And
I have met some. I have absolutely met some.
I agree.
I'm right here. And I have a girlfriend who's kind of going through it right now. And she's just like experienced so much shit in life. Like I'm telling you, you could be like, where's the best place to go in Capri? She'll tell you everything you need to know. I'll be like, I need a plane immediately in New York City to go to, here's the number for this person. Like, she's just experienced everything in life. And she had a partner who also was the same, but didn't really want to hear her voice or opinion on those things. And so she stifled it because she wanted him to feel, despite her very obvious experiences in the world and everything she knew, she was like, let him lead.
No, we cannot compress that. We can't compress that anymore.
And it didn't work out for her.
No, it wasn't meant to.
And now I'm sitting next to her like, girl, you do know that there's a man that actually loves that you have this knowledge.
Absolutely. That wisdom.
There's a man that can't wait to bring a check to you and be like, yo, how can we invest this? I have faith and believe that there is a man that does want a boss ass bitch like you.
I believe it.
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely.
Like, I know it's a stigma. We say it all the time, but like,
we're going to manifest
the same way you want to break that stigma about women in wealth management. I want to break the stigma that men don't want a boss ass bitch. It's not true. Just find the right one.
I'd say the last couple of guys I dated were excited about it.
So here at Dear Young Queen, we like to talk about first and last.
Yes.
So I have a question for you on your first.
Yes.
What was your first investment, albeit financial or personal,
Yes.
that you feel like netted you the best return?
I would say, as cliche as it is, investing in myself.
That's right.
Now, invest in yourself, whether it's financially and an investment plan or your mental health.
That's right.
Get a life coach. Get a
Therapist.
A therapist. Your body.
Whatever.
Get a
That's right.
trainer.
Get a trainer.
Spend the extra couple bucks. Get that trainer. The biggest investment I made was I got a therapist and I hired a personal trainer.
There you go.
And those were the single best investments I've ever made in my life.
Yeah. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like as a private wealth manager, it sounds like you're working with higher net worth clients. Your NFL, PA. So do you work with all athletes? Do you work with people that are not athletes?
I work with anyone who's nice.
I love that.
You just have to be a nice person.
Yes.
I'm really fortunate where I'm at a place where I can pick and choose now who I want to work with and who I don't. Certainly the beginning of my career, it wasn't like that. But you make exceptions for people who are committed. So I'll take on a smaller client who is really determined to put together a financial plan and stick with it and really put in the work to make certain goals happen. And it's the heavier work because it takes a little bit more time working with them, but it's the most rewarding. And especially women, young women, minorities, like those are my passion projects, and they need me because I see a lot of bad things happening with advisors that they go to at other companies who like stick them in a life insurance policy that they don't need, that they seriously don't need. But because those are the people who are really marketing towards the people who don't have as much, that's what they get stuck with.
I'm not going to lie to you. The life insurance promotion and marketing right now is heavy. I got about like 3 or 4 friends that just got life insurance policies. They're going ham right now.
And guess what? How many friends? 3 or 4? I bet you 3 of them didn't need them.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Wow.
Like, unless you have like, do they have kids?
Yeah, 2 of them did.
2 of them. All right. So maybe 2 of them needed the policies.
Yeah.
2 for 4?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
But it's because they're like putting on that hardcore sales,
They are.
pressure. And so I have clients who come to my
get
office.
nervous.
They're like, here, I've got this life insurance policy. I was like,
Why?
why do you have this life insurance policy? What do you need all this coverage for? You don't have kids. You don't have a husband. You don't have a business. Why do you have this big life insurance policy that you're paying all this money on, and you'll never be able to get the cash back out of it to at least 10, 15 years from now?
Yeah, not it.
And that's not even saying you'll be able to take all of it out.
And there's penalties.
So it's like it's like the access. I think it goes back to the conversation of being able to, confidently sit down with your friends and your peers and your colleagues and have those open, honest conversations about what they're doing, what's working for them, feel it out. Do you have a family member who you look to who maybe made some good financial decisions in their life and looks like they're living comfortably? What did they do? Like, have the dialogue. That's where it's going to start, is the dialogue about money. It used to be so cliche to talk about money, to talk about politics. Now we need to talk about money. We need to talk about politics. When you go to have your next girls' night out with your homegirls, bring it up. Start talking about money and how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Yes.
How's your financial picture? Right now, these conversations are more important than ever because the economy is in a tricky place right now. And we just had a very loose monetary policy, which means that it was easy and it was cheap to get money. It's now tightened. So now it's harder to
now they
get
wanna
money.
take it.
It's more expensive to borrow money. And so everyone is feeling that contraction. And so open the dialogue and good things can come from that.
Absolutely.
Whew. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Uncomfortable,
Thank
but
you.
necessary.
We got to
That's
get
right.
comfortable being uncomfortable because that's where the real meaningful conversations are going to come from, where we're going to make change happen. Yes.
And growth for sure.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here,
Yes.
can you tell everybody how they can find you on social media?
Yes, absolutely. My Instagram is Shea, SHEA_SC. And I pride myself on being very accessible. So if you've got like real questions about finances or investing, or if you need like a budget sent to you, like a sheet where you can pencil your numbers.
I need it.
Yeah, or if you need to just ask a question, I can give you very informal or formal advice, or
Informal, free.
Yeah.
Formal, costs you.
No.
Just so I could clarify that.
Absolutely not.
That for some of us.
It's all free. It is all free, and it would be a shame for me to work at this company. I work at one of the largest financial institutions in the world, and we have more resources than God. We've got just tons of resources at my fingertips, and it takes me 2 seconds to find whatever you're looking for. And if I don't have the answer, I know who to call. And so
or there's
thank you for
a
that.
receptionist somewhere downstairs that's overqualified.
Yeah, like consider
can look it up,
consider my resources yours, please.
Perfect.
Please.
I'm gonna hold you to that. It's on camera, girl.
Please do. What's mine is yours, y'all. Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, girl.
Thank you.